Forced to work from home by your employer? Laid off or feeling depressed at home? Do you want to make money working from anywhere? We'll show you how to do it from your couch. It's time for another episode of the Work From Home Show. Coming to you from their homes in Austin, Texas and Tampa, Florida, here are your hosts, Adam and Naresh.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Work From Home Show. Shout out to all our homies, homeboys, homegirls, home trans, all the work from homers out there. I'm Naresh, Vissa with Adam Schroeder. Today we have Andrew Fazekas on the show. He is known as the Night Sky Guy. Why is he known as the Night Sky Guy? Because he's an astronomy and science columnist for National Geographic's StarStruck, as well as a columnist for Yahoo News, the Montreal Gazette. He's a syndicated correspondent for multiple TV and radio broadcast networks, including National Geographic and CBC-Radio Canada. He's the previous national astronomy correspondent for the Weather Network TV. He's a communications manager for Astronomers Without Borders, co-creator of the world's first open-air augmented reality planetarium experience in Canada, and #1 best-selling author of the National Geographic Backyard Guide to the Night Sky, and the new book, National Geographic Stargazer'S Atlas, the ultimate guide to the night sky. So Andrew Fazekas, it's truly an honor to have you on the Work From Home Show.
Oh, it's great to be here, guys. This is going to be fun.
It is going to be fun. We're looking forward to it. I want to first start with your background, and before we get into both of your books, and Adam's got a lot of nitty-gritty astronomy questions for you, but before we get into those, I want to talk about your journey, how you've become probably the best-known astronomy columnist and media personality. Like, how did this come to be? Did you go to school and take a bunch of astronomy class? I don't even think that's a major in school. And I'm sure it started at childhood. Maybe you were the kid when you were 4 or 5, looking at the stars, getting telescopes for Christmas and your birthday. But just tell us about your journey and how you came to be where you are today.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's a lifelong journey for me. One of my earliest recollections really is my dad taking me out camping, fishing, and being under the stars in pristine skies. He taught me really about the idea that, nature is not just stuff here on the ground on Earth, like trees and animals and such. It's also the night sky, is stuff in the sky. Those points of light that we see there are also part of nature. And also, I remember, we lived in an apartment building in Montreal, Canada, a large city, with over 2 million population. You could expect lots of light pollution, but some of my earliest recollections is him taking a department store telescope, buying that, and taking us to the rooftop of the apartment building, and then looking at things like Jupiter and its moons, seeing Saturn's rings, touring the moon. I mean, these happened a few years after the Apollo missions ended, and so I felt like, wow, here I am. I'm like an astronaut above the moon touring. It's like, it was amazing. I got hooked, and that's my earliest recollection. And I could have been an astronomer, but one of the things I didn't like about being a professional astronomer is being restricted in what I would study, and you being super laser focused on just one subject. And that just didn't appeal to me. I liked everything about astronomy and space, and I just couldn't get enough of it. And for me, it turned out it was more of a communication thing. I love to communicate my passion to others. And that started at a very young age, and just sharing that passion with others, bringing out my telescope. I remember, being on college campus, and then when there was an eclipse or something else, or planetary conjunction, I would bring out my telescope and share it with everyone on campus. Those are the things that, really got got me excited. And so I've just been so blessed by creating a career over the last 3 decades of being, I guess you could call it sort of like a Johnny Appleseed of astronomy, just sowing the seeds of excitement regarding the night sky with just regular earthlings and getting people to look up. And in the end, what I've learned too is that we all share the same night sky. It doesn't matter where you're from around this world. It's the same night sky that we have. We're on this little spaceship called planet Earth, and we're going through the cosmos together, and billions of us, and we look up and it's the same thing. It's the shared heritage of humanity.
I want to talk a little bit more about that career, because there are a lot of young kids. I'm not saying that they're listening to this show, but there are a lot of young kids out there who like space, like astronomy, but you actually turned it into, I wanted to be an astronaut when I was 5 years old, but you actually turned it into a career, a well-known career, and it looking like a lucrative career too. So tell us about that. You told us about your childhood, your dad, the telescopes, but now you're in college, you graduate from college. How did you go from just having this passion for astronomy to actually making a career out of it? Like, how did you get your break? How did you get the Yahoo News stuff, the National Geographic stuff, and then the books? Just walk us through all that.
Yeah. So basically, it's a windy way, my career path. I actually went into wildlife biology and studied African antelope endocrinology.
Oh, wow.
And totally different. Really excited. Got to travel, worked in the Kalahari Desert for my postgraduate work. So I was heavily involved. My idea at that point was, hobby of astronomy, loved it, but my career goal was working with African antelopes. Actually, that was the thing. But being out in the Kalahari Desert in southern Africa, I encountered some of the most amazing skies that I've ever seen. In a desert, you get to see the sky as it probably appeared to ancient humans thousands of years ago. And so it was a life-changing experience for me. Definitely, I can tell you that. And it refueled my inner fire towards astronomy. But I was on the course to be a wildlife biologist, started working in a zoo in California, and they asked me to do education, doing communication work. So, okay, I worked at a zoo, did wildlife communication, but what I realized is I really like to communicate. That was the key. It wasn't really doing research and studying as an academic, but it's mostly as a communicator, doing lectures and such. And so that was great. I have to earn a living. And I got lucky. I said, well, this was back in the 90s when the internet was still in its infancy, but I got trained doing internet sites for this zoo in California that I worked in. And it was enough of a training that I actually landed a job working at an international company called Siemens Engineering. It's an engineering firm, nothing related to what my background was, but I had enough internet experience designing websites, of all things, through the zoo to get a job. I got a job full-time, worked at this multinational company on a website development team. Again, this was late 90s. And it was awesome. I made more money than a tenured professor. It allowed me to, just expand and grow from there. I got married, had kids, and what I realized working in a cubicle at this engineering firm, this was absolutely not for me. I had worked there for over 5 years. Like I said, made great money, but I just was not happy with what I was doing. The career path wasn't what I liked. What I noticed that I did like is astronomy still. I couldn't get enough of it. I had joined a club, a local club, and astronomy club, helped with outreach that the astronomy club was doing, brought out my telescopes, and I just absolutely loved, did lectures. And I said, well, you know what? This is something I want to explore. Is there a career path potentially here? So I started dabbling on the side on weekends, doing research at night about what is a science communicator, and specifically astronomy. So I went to my local bookstore, looked at all the famous authors and communicators in astronomy at the time, and I sat down and I actually wrote letters to all, like 30 of them, and going, how did you get into where you're going? What do you? I got 2 responses back, and basically explaining to me that giving lectures and all of that is fun, but writing is where you could probably earn your bread and butter. I said, wow, writing. I've never really written anything. I wonder if this is something I could do. So I got back into the bookstore, got some how to write books, and started pitching ideas for articles to magazines. And that's where I got my start. The very first pitch to a magazine was Astronomy Magazine, and it was a little review, supposed to be a review of a book, actually, a space art book. And the editor called me and says, you know what, Andrew, instead of just a little review, we'd love to have like a 7-8 page spread of a full-blown article about space art in general with this book in mind. Oh my gosh, I landed a feature article in multinational magazine as my first ever, paid gig as a communicator. And that just started the ball rolling for me. And I haven't looked back since. That's been over 20 years ago. And, I'm a full-time freelance communicator. That's what I've built my business around. And I'm never afraid to do new challenges, pushing the envelope, and how can I communicate my passion? What mediums can I use? And I've now touched into augmented reality. I do social media, and I still write books, because there's nothing like having a real hardcover book in front of you that just can't be replaced with digital media yet. And I just love all different of these aspects that I can dabble in. I have the freedom to enjoy my passion and share it with everyone.
I love that story, because you had a good job. I know Siemens. Siemens is a large corporation, and you were doing web design, web development for them, making great money. I know people who work at Siemens, and if you're a tech person, web person at a corporation like that, you're good for the rest of your career, really. Yeah. But you branched out because you had this passion. You branched out and you're like, I want to pitch astronomy articles. I love astronomy. I think that's a really inspirational story for our listeners to hear, that because many of them are stuck in that cubicle and they have all these other passions.
Yeah.
And
you have to kind of reach out. And I'll tell you something else, Naresh. A little side note to this is that, I started dabbling. And then a year later, in writing and communicating, doing my side gig of what I really have a passion for. And that really spurred me to continue. I go to work and do what I need to do during the day job. But then what happened was I got canned. They actually cut the entire web team. Siemens decided one day that they didn't want to be in that business anymore. And so I was just literally left out. And I thanked so much that I had started a year before dabbling in my, side gig. It turned out to be my full-time gig. My wife totally supported. We crunched down. We said, let's do this. It's going to be hard. We clamped down on our finances. We struggled. It was really, really hard the first little while, but we stuck with it. And that was the thing. Just keep pumping out those ideas and pitching ideas to different places. That's what it took to really get where I am today.
So when it comes to actually kind of educating the next generation of people who are going to be looking up at the stars, like, I know if, like, for example, if my kids said, hey, I'm interested in astronomy, I don't know the first thing about it. I don't know how to teach them. Kind of, what are some of the things that, parents need to know as they try to, encourage the next generation?
I think the one thing is that parents, elders generally have this thing that they need to be the guide. And in astronomy, what I've learned, I have 2 children as well, and I've taught from 4-year-olds to 84-year-olds. And it's one is that don't pretend that you need to be the source, the guru of it and the knowledge base. Explore together. So if you don't know anything about the night sky and you have a kid that's really excited about it, don't pretend that or just feel like, defeated that this is just way too much. I can't. And you skirt around it and you don't really dive into it. Dive in together, explore it really. This is something that you can take the journey together side by side. Let's go, let's learn. I don't know I have no idea how to find this galaxy in the constellation Orion. Let's go and explore and find out together how it's done, And today, astronomy, the hobby is, there's a blurring line with professional astronomy. I wish I had this when I was young, much younger in my college days and stuff. Today, amateur astronomers can do real research side by side with professionals, even publish academic papers, together. It's incredible where the hobby has come, and the line is totally blurred. And if you're a technology gadget guy, oh my gosh, I mean, it's like you can do anything. Robotic telescopes, live streaming images, live tours, connecting large observatories with handheld telescopes. It's just everything is out there now that's incredible and pushing that envelope of research and discovery. It's of the universe. It's all for the taking.
So, obviously we've got, your books that have, the Backyard Guide to the Night Sky, the Ultimate Guide to the Night Sky. I've looked at your Instagram, some fantastic pictures there. Like, what are some kind of starting points, like you say, explore it together? What are some starting points, first off, like equipment-wise, that you would recommend? And then also kind of just places to go to educate yourself and your kid about kind of what to look for whenever you look up there. Because to me, I mean, I've been to, like the dark sky places and where the astronomy club comes, and just the fact that they can even find the stars boggles my mind, because they all look the same to me whenever I look under the telescope at first. So what would you recommend to people, getting, and kind of where to start reading?
Yeah, I mean, different folks, different strokes. It's depends on what really captures. The best way is whatever you have at hand, whatever you can afford, whatever is available to you in terms of sky condition. Take advantage of it. Don't make excuses of going, well, I have to go to a deep sky reserve. I have to buy this, $500 telescope to start. You don't really need to have that kind of entry point. It's really just starting with your own eyes. You have your curiosity. You wait for a nice clear sky. If you're stuck downtown and you're in a skyrise and you have a balcony looking out, that's good. If you have a backyard in a suburb, that's fantastic too. I tell people that don't wait to explore the night sky to go out to one of those, on a vacation or something. You can do it any clear night, wherever you are, in whatever light polluted city you're living in, because in fact, it's actually to your advantage. When you're learning the night sky, I'd like to teach what's called star hopping techniques. So you learn a handful of bright stars, where their locations are, and you trace out some of the brightest constellations that are visible, or what we call asterism, star patterns. Like the most famous one is the Big Dipper. Finding the Big Dipper. We're lucky here in North America. We can see the Big Dipper pretty much all year round. It's what's called circumpolar, and you use that as a landmark, as a guidepost to show you the way to other stars. So you basically use various two stars in the Big Dipper, and you kind of draw an imaginary line out to other neighboring bright stars, and that guides you basically to other constellations. Once you kind of learn 4 or 5 constellations in your sky for any season, you can start then taking binoculars and telescopes to search within those constellations that you know how to trace out already with the naked eye. You can start searching for all those treasures like star clusters, nebulae, which are gas clouds, and galaxies too. All of those will be much easily accessible when you've taken that path of learning the sky with the naked eye. Now, many of us don't have too much time. And so there are shortcuts of using apps on your phone, for instance. There's amazing planetarium apps out there. There's some free ones like Stellarium out there. Stellarium is a great beginner app. You install these, and you know, with the GPS on your phone, it'll actually even point you to where these objects are that you see on the screen in the sky around you. So, you know, the access point has been lowered. If you've got deep pockets, there's even telescopes that are totally robotic and computerized. Connect to your phone through an app, and it'll actually has a digital imager built into the to the telescopes, and you can actually look through the eyepiece, and it generates a real-time image of deep sky objects like galaxies and nebulae. And you can do it. I mean, it's pricey. They cost around $4,000. But what it does is it opens it up where there's no much of a learning curve in terms of learning this guy. It'll point for it. It uses the GPS and everything, the whole kit and caboodle to point to those objects that you want to see. You just literally point your finger on the screen and say, I want to see this galaxy. And it goes and finds it for you and shows you what it looks like. So, you know, there's all this available. And yeah, you mentioned clubs, astronomy clubs. Definitely, if you're interested in dabbling in it, but you're not sure, like in terms of equipment to get, astronomy clubs are great because you can actually go there and find out about telescopes and see what you like, how they work and what they cost, and they'll be more than happy, these amateur astronomers at these clubs, to help you out.
All right, and the last question I have is slightly two-parted, and that is, as someone who isn't into it really, haven't really gotten into it, haven't even really experimented with it much, kind of what leads you to go back and continue to look at the same area? Because it seems to me like it's kind of like once you've seen it once, you've kind of seen it. So what leads you to continually going back and, you know, looking in the same areas and exploring there? And also, are you concerned at all about you mentioned getting started in your backyard with all the light pollution. Are you worried that we're going to continue losing all of the dark sky places and end up with nowhere you can go to actually see clearly?
Well, to that last part, I think we are very fortunate to live in a time where now people are starting to really appreciate the dark skies enough so that they're advocating politicians to set aside internationally recognized locations that have really amazing dark night skies, where the skies look like they did before the Industrial Revolution. So those sites are being set aside, more and more of them, thankfully, around the world in many countries. And so that is, I think we're okay. We're good with saving some of these. What I'm sad about is the increase in light pollution as cities just like metastasize like a cancer. You know, they just spread out over the countryside, and increase in light pollution is tremendous. We are losing a lot of people are losing their connection to the night sky. So, you know, I don't think my job's in peril advocating for the night sky and teaching it, because more and more people are being disconnected from the real night sky, you know. Now, why do I like looking at some of the same spots? First off, a lot of parts of the sky are like old friends to me. They come around once a year, and I see them, and it's just like seeing an old friend. And depending on the sky conditions, I see many different things. And depending on what instruments I'm using, what kind of telescopes. If I bring out a pair of binoculars, I might see something different. But what I really gets me going after all these decades is I have a very large telescope, a simple telescope, no frills, nothing attached to it, no go-to computer, robot, nothing. It's made out of wood and glass and a little bit of metal. And I set that puppy up. It's big. It's a 20-inch mirror. I need an 8-foot ladder to look through it. But the views that I get, those photons of light that I see from a galaxy, say 150 million light years away, yeah, there's nothing like those fossilized light hitting my eyeball. And it's not a picture from the Hubble. It's not something on my phone that somebody else took somewhere, a picture. No, this is the real stuff hitting my eyeball. There's a thrill like that you'd have to be, I'd take you beside me and you'd get it and you'd see it, through the telescope. It's incredible.
Andrew, last quick topic, because I know you have to run to your next interview, but you said that you started a business. This astronomy is a business. So are you fully employed by National Geographic, or that's just a partnership that you have with them?
No, it's just a partnership. And it's something that's been going on for now over 13 years. And it's just amazing. Goes through the website, writing news, writing articles, doing shows for them, writing books. It's just a great, wonderful partnership. I love actually, and I have other partnerships with other entities as well. I'm just completely I love being independent because I get to explore whatever catches my fancy, and there's nothing better than that.
And do they cover your expenses? They're kind of like clients, these partners. So do they cover your expenses and equipment? I'm assuming you research and write from home. You don't have to.
Yeah, it depends. Yes, if some of those things, yes, are covered, and some of them are just part of the doing business. I cover it myself, and it's worth it. And then I reinvest into my business regularly. That's something that I don't shy away from. Try something new. I'll push the envelope while, other entities are, stuck in a large corporate mentality. Being a small, nimble individual, I can do whatever I want and therefore push boundaries much more easily. And sometimes that's what it takes to really make a difference and make those connections with people.
Really good. Well, Andrew, I know you have to go, so we'll let you hop off the call. That's Andrew Fazekas, #1 best-selling author of the National Geographic Backyard Guide to the Night Sky, and also get his new book. It's available everywhere. It's on the National Geographic website. It's on Amazon. It's in bookstores. It's called National Geographic Stargazer'S Atlas, the ultimate guide to the night sky. Andrew's website is thenightskyguy.com. That's thenightskyguy.com. Andrew, thank you so much for joining us on the Work From Home Show. To all our listeners, check us out at workfromhomeshow.com. If you have any questions, comments, email us hello@workfromhomeshow.com. Follow us on social media. Write us a review on whatever podcasting platform you use. And until next week, keep on working from home.